I'll never forget the sound first. That sickening mix of a woman's high-pitched moan and a man's grunt echoing through the walls of what used to be our bedroom. My name's Ethan Carter, and this isn't some story you hear over a few beers at a bar. This is the gut-wrenching reality I lived. And if you think this is going to be some slow build-up, you're dead wrong. This started with the worst slap to the face imaginable. It was a rainy Saturday afternoon. I had left work early. Some contractor issue at the firm had been resolved faster than expected. I thought I'd surprise my wife, Emily Carter, the woman I built my entire damn world around. She always used to text me, "Miss you. Babe, can't wait till you get home." Lately, though, radio silence. I'd blamed it on stress or maybe a bad week. Stupid me. When I pulled into the driveway, I noticed a sleek black BMW parked half on the curb, half in our yard. We didn't have visitors, and none of my friends owned that kind of car. Still, I shook it off. Maybe Emily's sister, Lisa, borrowed a new ride? I wish it had been Lisa. God, I wish it. The moment I stepped inside, I felt it. The air was wrong. You know that sixth sense? Like you're about to walk into something that'll carve you open from the inside out? Yeah, that. I kicked off my shoes, keeping my footsteps light. Voices drifted down the hallway. Her voice, breathy and desperate, whispering things that no wife should ever say to anyone but her husband. But it wasn't me she was saying them to. My chest tightened like a vice. I wanted to turn around, convince myself I was paranoid. Maybe she was watching some movie. Maybe I was imagining the whole thing. But no, I followed the sounds. My feet moved before my mind could catch up. The bedroom door was slightly ajar. And there it was. Emily. My Emily. Tangled in the sheets with a man I'd never seen before. Dirty blonde hair, smug grin, muscular arms wrapped possessively around her like he owned her. She was laughing, eyes wild, lips swollen from his kisses. And our wedding photo, smashed on the floor, shards of glass glinting like knives around their playground of betrayal. My vision tunneled. Time slowed. I heard my own heartbeat thundering in my ears, drowning out everything except her voice. "Oh, Dylan," she purred, arching her back like some damn temptress from a cheap film. "You're so much better than my boring husband." Boring husband. That line sliced through me harder than any blade could. Me, the man who had worked my fingers to the bone to give her this life, this house, this so-called happiness. Boring? My hands shook with a cocktail of rage and disbelief. I shoved the door open, letting it slam against the wall with a deafening crack. "What the hell is this?" I roared. They both froze. Emily had the audacity, the sheer, cold-blooded audacity, to smirk at me, as if I was the one intruding. She didn't even bother covering herself properly, just lazily draped a sheet over her lower half while her new plaything scrambled off the bed like a guilty schoolboy. Well, Emily drawled, flicking a strand of hair over her shoulder. "Looks like you finally grew a spine, Ethan." Her words stung like acid on an open wound. Dylan, whoever this prick was, grabbed his pants and glared at me like I was the one out of place. "You should have knocked, bro," he sneered. Bro, that was it. That was the moment my heart didn't just break. It shattered, disintegrated into dust. My knees nearly buckled, but I held firm, swallowing the lump of betrayal and fury in my throat. "What the hell are you doing in my house? In our bed?" I spat, my voice rough and trembling. Emily stretched like a lazy cat, eyes glinting with malice. "Correction," she said, her tone dripping with venom. "My bed. You've just been a guest in it." Her words hit like bullets. And yet, somewhere deep inside, a flicker of icy clarity sparked to life. This wasn't some random affair. No, this was a deliberate, premeditated stab in the back. She wanted me to see this. This wasn't carelessness. This was war. And she had just fired the first shot that I stood there, fists clenched so tight my nails bit into my palms. I didn't feel the pain. What I felt was something far worse. This growing storm inside me, something cold and ruthless clawing to get out. My eyes locked on Emily, searching, begging for a trace of the woman I married. But all I saw was a stranger, smirking like she'd won some twisted game. She didn't even flinch. Not once. "You're pathetic," she said, her tone like ice water down my spine. "You thought you'd come home early and catch me in some sweet surprise, huh? Well, surprise." Her words made my stomach churn. Dylan, this prick in my house, chuckled as he buttoned his shirt, like this was all a joke to him. I wanted to wipe that grin off his face permanently. But I held myself back, not because I didn't want to, but because I wanted to understand first. I needed to hear it from her vile mouth. "How long, Emily?" I managed to say, though my throat was as dry as sandpaper. "How long have you been doing this?" She rolled her eyes, like I just asked the dumbest question in the world. "Honestly? Months," she snapped. "Maybe longer. I lost count." My chest tightened. Months. While I was busting my ass at work, running overtime to pay for her boutique spa days and stupid yoga retreats, she was entertaining Dylan right here, in the bed where we once made promises and plans for a future she clearly never believed in. "Why?" I asked, my voice rough and uneven. "What did I do to deserve this?" Emily snorted, standing up from the bed without an ounce of shame, letting the sheet fall carelessly to the floor. She stood there, shameless and defiant, like she was proud of her betrayal. "You want the truth?" she said, crossing her arms under her chest. "You're boring, Ethan. Predictable. A 9-to-5 puppet who kisses the boss's ass and thinks bringing home flowers once a month makes up for being a dead weight in bed." Her words were venom. Every syllable felt like a dagger twisting in my ribs. Dead weight. Boring. Predictable. Funny, I thought loyalty and hard work meant something. Clearly, to Emily, they were just punchlines to a joke she'd been telling behind my back. "And Dylan," I spat his name like it tasted rotten. "Is this your upgrade?" Dylan stepped closer, puffing his chest like some macho fool, clearly eager to play hero in her pathetic little drama. "She deserves excitement," he barked. "Something you clearly can't provide." That was it. I lunged, my fury boiling over. Before my brain could stop me, my fist collided with his jaw, sending him crashing into the nightstand. He groaned, clutching his face, but I didn't care. If he wanted to play tough guy, he could damn well take the consequences. Emily, instead of panicking, laughed, like my pain was her private entertainment. "Real mature, Ethan," she sneered. "Assaulting my lover? Are you going to cry next?" Tears threatened, I won't lie, but they weren't tears of weakness. They were molten, furious tears of betrayal and rage. I swallowed them down like poison, keeping my eyes locked on hers. "You brought this into our home, Emily. Into our bed." "It's my bed now," she shot back without missing a beat. "And honestly, he makes it worth staying in." Her cruelty was bottomless. Every word from her mouth felt like gasoline poured over the burning wreckage of our marriage. I turned my gaze to Dylan, who was still groaning, rubbing his jaw. Part of me wanted to finish what I started, but something else, something darker, colder, told me to hold back. No, I would not end this with fists. Fists were too simple. She wanted war? Fine, but I would fight it on my terms. Without another word, I stepped back, my mind already racing ahead. Rage mixed with a razor-sharp clarity. I was done begging for answers. Done looking for the woman I once loved in the hollow shell standing before me. Emily grinned, like she thought she'd broken me. But she didn't know me as well as she thought. No, she had no idea what storm she had just unleashed. Because while she was busy celebrating her little victory, I was already planning my revenge. And I was going to make damn sure it would be epic that I left them in the room like the garbage they were, stepping into the hallway with my heart jackhammering against my ribs. My vision blurred at the edges, not from tears anymore, but from pure fury boiling in my veins. My home, my sanctuary, had been turned into a circus of betrayal, and I was the fool left clapping for the finale. I gripped the banister so tightly my knuckles went white, trying to steady myself, but my thoughts were wild animals in a cage. Raging, snarling, tearing at the bars. How many times had she lied? I wondered. How many fake kisses? How many empty "I love yous"? I pictured every time I texted her from work to say I'd be late, giving her the perfect window to spread her filth in my home. Did she laugh as she replied with heart emojis and fake sweet nothings? The bile crawled up my throat. My phone buzzed in my pocket. I yanked it out like it might bite me, and there it was. A message from her, as if she didn't just shred my soul minutes ago. Emily, don't be dramatic. Grow up, Ethan. I stared at the words, my pulse thundering in my ears. Was this really who she was? The woman I built a life with? The mother I once hoped would carry my children? My chest ached from the weight of her cruelty. I heard laughter from the bedroom. Her laughter, and Dylan's too. They were mocking me, still tangled up in their disgusting aftermath like hyenas chewing on the bones of my dignity. That was the moment something inside me snapped clean in two. No, I would not let them win. I turned back toward the bedroom, but not to argue, not to beg, not to plead for scraps of honesty from a woman who was nothing but a polished lie. No, I had something else in mind. I walked in, slow and deliberate. Dylan froze mid-laugh, his swollen lip crooked from the punch I'd delivered earlier. Emily just raised an eyebrow, smug as ever, draped in the bedsheet like it was some queen's robe. "Forgot something?" she said, her voice dripping with disdain. I kept my eyes on her, never breaking contact, and raised my phone. I tapped the screen to start recording, letting the lens capture every rotten detail. The tangled sheets, Dylan's half-buttoned shirt, Emily's shameless smirk. Every piece of evidence, immortalized. "What the hell are you doing?" Emily's smirk twitched. I said nothing, just smiled. "You're seriously filming this?" Dylan barked, trying to sound outraged, but his eyes betrayed him, wide with panic. "Smile," I said quietly, my voice like ice. "You're both going to be famous." Emily's mask cracked. For the first time, a flicker of fear crossed her face. "Ethan, turn that off right now," she snapped, her bravado crumbling. But I didn't stop. Not this time. I let the video run for a few more brutal seconds, then ended the recording. "Consider this insurance," I said, slipping the phone back into my pocket. "You wouldn't dare," Emily hissed. "Wouldn't I?" I leaned in closer, my face inches from hers. "Watch me." Her eyes narrowed, venomous and furious, but beneath that fire I saw something else. Panic. She hadn't expected this. She thought I'd crumble, thought I'd be the broken man she could walk over and leave in her rearview mirror. But no, I was going to make her choke on every lie she ever told me. Dylan grabbed his pants and stumbled toward the door, mumbling something about not wanting any trouble. I watched him go, not saying a word. He wasn't worth the breath. Emily, however, was another story. As the door slammed shut behind him, I took one last look around the room that had become a crime scene of betrayal. "You've ruined everything," I said, my voice sharp as a blade. She scoffed. "No, Ethan. You ruined everything the moment you stopped being a man." Her words were gasoline, but I let them burn, let them fuel the inferno inside me. "Pack your things," I said coldly. "Get out of my house." She threw her head back and laughed, mocking until the bitter end. "You think you're kicking me out?" she sneered. "This is half mine." "Not for long," I shot back. "You'll see." And with that, I turned and walked away, leaving her fuming in the wreckage she created. But as I stepped outside, the cold air hitting my face like a slap, I made a silent vow. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. What she didn't know yet was that I was just getting started. The morning after felt like walking through a battlefield, bodies of my trust and love scattered everywhere, smoldering. Sleep didn't come, not even for a second. I spent the entire night pacing the house like a caged animal, every step echoing the storm in my chest. Emily hadn't left. Of course, she didn't. She thought her name on the deed made her untouchable. She slept. No, not slept, passed out. In the guest room after drinking herself stupid from the stash of wine I stupidly kept for special occasions. Special occasions. What a joke. At dawn, I made coffee with shaking hands, staring out the window at the driveway where Dylan's cheap rust bucket of a car had leaked oil like a wounded animal. I should have slashed his tires. Regret clawed at me, Next time, I thought grimly. My phone vibrated on the counter. I snatched it up like it might contain salvation. Instead, it was a message from her. Emily, we need to talk. I don't want things to get ugly. Too late for that. Before I could even think of a reply, I heard her footsteps behind me. Slow, heavy, like she had the nerve to be tired after what she'd done. I didn't turn around. I didn't trust myself not to explode. You're not really going to make this a war, Ethan? She said, her voice coated in fake concern, like honey over poison. Are you? I took a slow breath. You made it a war the second you brought him into our bed. She had the audacity to sigh, like I was the burden here. You act like I wanted this, she said, wrapping her robe tighter around herself. Do you think I wanted to sneak around? Do you think I enjoyed hiding things from you? I snapped. The coffee mug in my hand cracked under the pressure of my grip, scorching liquid spilling onto my skin. But I didn't even flinch. You enjoyed it enough to laugh in my face while he was still lying in our sheets. I roared. She flinched at the sharpness of my voice but recovered quickly, her eyes narrowing into venomous slits. You're pathetic, she spat. You never made me feel wanted anymore. You buried yourself in work. I needed something. The words felt like a blade dragged across my chest. I had killed myself to build this life for us. Long nights, early mornings, sacrificing time, friends, hell, even my health. And this is how she repaid me? Spreading herself to the first guy who gave her a sleazy compliment? You disgust me, I said, my voice low and cold. She took a step closer, fury twisting her features. You think you're innocent in this? You think you're some saint? Wake up, Ethan. You pushed me away long before Dylan ever touched me. The way she said his name, so casual, like it wasn't filthy, ignited every nerve in my body. I fought the urge to scream. No, I needed to stay sharp. She was baiting me, and I wouldn't give her the satisfaction. You have until tonight, I said. Get out of this house or I swear, Emily, you'll regret it. Her lips curled into a wicked grin. You really think you can scare me? I'll take you for everything you've got. The house, your savings, hell, even your car if I feel like it. There it was. The truth, stripped of all pretense. She never loved me. Not really. I was just a stepping stone. A wallet with a pulse. A stability she could suck dry while she chased her cheap thrills on the side. But I wasn't going to let her walk away with a single penny. Without another word, I walked out. My heart thundered in my chest as I made my way to the garage. Inside, I opened the drawer where I kept the emergency folder, bank statements, mortgage details, copies of every important document. I stuffed them into a bag, grabbed my laptop, and left. The moment I hit the car seat, I dialed my lawyer. It was early, but I didn't care. He answered, groggy. Ethan, he rasped. What's going on? I need to burn it all to the ground, I said, my voice sharp with purpose. Now. No more hesitation. No more second chances. I was going to gut her, legally and financially, and make sure she never saw a dime of my sweat and blood. As I pulled out of the driveway, I caught a glimpse of her standing at the front door, arms crossed, watching me leave like she had already won. But she was wrong. This wasn't me giving up. This was me loading the ammunition, and I was going to fire every last round. The lawyer's office smelled like old leather and quiet destruction. Gerald, I trusted him, if anyone, leaned back in his chair, fingers steepled under his chin while I dumped everything on the table between us. Bank statements, screenshots, emails, even a few blurry photos of Emily and Dylan tangled up together like feral animals at a cheap motel. I wasn't ashamed to admit I'd gone full detective mode last night. I couldn't sleep anyway, and rage makes a hell of a fuel for digging. Found their secret email thread too, buried under her maiden name like I was too stupid to figure it out. She even called him my king. My damn blood boiled so hard I thought I'd black out. Gerald scanned the papers, his eyes sharp, professional. But there was a flicker of personal disgust there too. Jesus, Ethan. She's reckless. She's worse than reckless. I bit out. She thinks she's untouchable. He nodded slowly, pulling a yellow legal pad toward him. Okay, First things first, we freeze the joint accounts. You move your direct deposit to a separate bank today. Call your payroll, tell them it's an emergency. I'll handle the rest. How bad do you want this to hurt, Ethan? I didn't even hesitate. All the way. Good. As he mapped out the strategy, a dark satisfaction settled in my chest. I wasn't going to sit back and watch her walk away with half of my life. No. She wanted war, she was getting it. And not just any war. A massacre. Phone buzzed. Emily. Again. I almost laughed. The audacity. I didn't pick up. Seconds later, a text came through. Emily, we need to talk. You're making this harder than it has to be. Harder? She thought I was making it hard? She didn't even know the meaning of the word yet. Gerald caught the look on my face. Don't respond, he warned. Everything she says from now on is bait. Stay clean. Let her be the one to drown. I nodded, locking my phone and slipping it into my pocket like it was a venomous snake. When I left his office, I felt lighter. Not healed, hell no, but armed. I had my battle plans. She wanted chaos, well, I was about to deliver it straight to her doorstep. But Emily wasn't done playing games. When I got home, she wasn't alone. Dylan's junkyard car was back in my driveway, bleeding oil onto the concrete like a fresh wound. My fists clenched so tight my knuckles went white. Inside, I found them in the living room, sitting on my couch like they owned the place. Dylan had his arm draped over the back, smirking like a damn fool. Emily, God, Emily, was swirling a glass of wine like it was the middle of a cocktail party. What is this? I growled. Her eyes lit up, sharp and cruel. Just wanted to let you know, she said sweetly. Dylan's moving in. It was like all the oxygen got sucked out of the room. She kept going, her voice dripping with venomous glee. Since you're so eager to run off to your little lawyer, we thought we'd make ourselves comfortable. Dylan had the gall to grin at me. No hard feelings, man. That was it. That was the moment I saw red. But I kept it together. Barely. Not because I didn't want to snap his scrawny neck right there. No, I wanted that more than my next breath. But because I already knew how this ended. Not in a brawl. Not in handcuffs. In victory. My victory. You're both trespassing, I said coldly. Get out. Emily laughed. Laughed. Our house, Ethan. Remember. For a split second, I almost lost it. But Gerald's words rang in my head. Stay clean. Let her drown. So I didn't respond. I just took a slow, deliberate walk to the front door, opened it wide, and stood there, waiting. Silent. Calm. Dangerous. Emily's smile faltered. Just for a moment. Dylan shifted uncomfortably but tried to cover it with bravado. Better close that door before a draft comes in, Emily sneered. I didn't move. I held the line. And then I saw it. Flashing lights down the street, the patrol car I'd quietly requested earlier. I turned to them, voice icy. Cops will be here in about 30 seconds. Hope you packed light. Her mask slipped. Just a crack. Enough. And when those officers stepped into my home and ordered them out, her face, twisted with shock and rage, was the sweetest sight I'd seen in weeks. But this was only the beginning, because I wasn't done yet. Not even close. They dragged their sorry selves out, but not without Emily hissing at me under her breath. You're making a huge mistake, Ethan. Huge. I didn't answer. I just watched her, soaking in every flicker of fury on her face like fuel to my fire. Dylan tried to puff up his chest on the way out, but the officers kept it tight, escorting them right off my property. The moment the door shut behind them, the silence was deafening. I finally exhaled, my heart pounding against my ribs like a war drum. I knew they'd be back. She wasn't going to give up this easy. Not Emily. She was the kind of woman who'd rather burn the whole house down than let me have it. I spent the next day clearing out everything she'd ever touched. Pillows she picked, curtains she insisted on, stupid decorative bowls that never held anything useful. All of it, gone. Dumped in trash bags and hauled straight to the curb. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of returning to a place that felt like home. No, when she came back, she'd find a battlefield. But Emily, she wasn't done playing dirty. That evening, my phone buzzed again. Another unknown number. I let it go to voicemail, but curiosity got the better of me. Her voice, slick with mockery. "You can't erase me that easily, Ethan. Dylan and I, we're just getting started." "Like hell you are," I thought. 2 hours later, the storm hit. Papers filed against me, her move this time. A bogus claim. Something about emotional distress and hostile environment. Gerald called me immediately. "She's throwing mud now," he warned. "But don't flinch. This is desperation, plain and simple." Desperation, sure. But it was more than that. It was Emily trying to pull me into her swamp, drag me down to her level so I'd fight dirty and give her what she wanted. Chaos. Instead, I doubled down. Gerald and I moved fast. Faster than she expected. He filed motions, locked down the house legally under my name, and froze every joint asset tighter than a drum. I even installed cameras all over the property. She wouldn't step foot here again without leaving a trail. That night, though, my anger got an unexpected visitor. Doubt. I sat alone at the kitchen table. My table, stripped of her stupid floral centerpiece, and stared at the pile of evidence like it could explain something that still didn't make sense. How did we get here? How did I not see it coming? I thought back to the quiet moments. Her fake smiles at dinner, the excuses about girls' nights that always ended later and later, the random purchases on our credit card, the perfume I never smelled on her when she got home. The signs were there. I'd just been too blind, too trusting. My chest tightened as the weight of it hit me all over again. She wasn't just unfaithful. She was cruel. A predator in a pretty dress. She didn't just betray me. She enjoyed it. Thrived on the chaos. On the power trip of humiliating me under my own roof. My blood ran cold. That's when I made the decision. Not just to win this battle, but to erase her entirely from my life. From my memory. From my future. She wanted to play dirty? Play clean. Ice cold clean. Surgical. No texts. No calls. No reactions. Nothing to feed her twisted ego. Instead, I poured myself into the strategy. With Gerald's help, I started transferring assets, setting up my next chapter, far away from her shadow. And then, just as I was sealing off the final pieces, a message popped up on my work email of all places, from her personal account. The subject line chilled my spine. "You're going to regret this." No text in the body, just an attachment. Against my better judgment, I clicked. What I saw made my jaw clench so tight it hurt. It was a photo of her and Dylan, in my bed, smirking at the camera like the devils they were, middle fingers up, like they were taunting me straight from my own nightmares. She wanted war. I was about to give her an apocalypse. I stared at that photo longer than I should have. My fists were clenched so tight my knuckles turned white. The blood drained from them like my patience had drained over these last few days. She wasn't just a liar. She wasn't just a cheater. Emily was a venomous snake, proud of the way she sunk her fangs into my neck and bled me dry. And Dylan? That coward was nothing more than her puppet, dancing to her toxic tune. My pulse throbbed in my temples as I stood up from the desk. The veins in my arms felt like they were going to burst. She thought this would break me. She thought this picture, this pathetic little attempt to get inside my head, would make me crumble. No, it only lit the fire higher. I forwarded the photo to Gerald without a second thought. Within minutes, my phone buzzed. "This is good." Gerald's voice came sharp, eager. "Very good. She just handed us ammunition. We'll bury her with this." Finally, I could taste it, justice. Not the cold, slow-moving kind you read about in law books, but the real kind, the kind that scorches earth and leaves no trace of the enemy behind. If Emily wanted to burn everything down, I'd make sure she was trapped in the blaze. That night, I didn't sleep. I sat in the living room, lights off, eyes fixed on the dim street beyond the window, waiting, watching. Part of me hoped she'd be dumb enough to come back, to try and pull another stunt. I wanted to see her face one more time. Not for closure, no. For the satisfaction of watching her realize she lost. At around 2 in the morning, headlights flickered down the street. A car slowed, paused near the curb, and kept rolling. Dylan's truck. I recognized the dented bumper. That piece of trash had the nerve to circle my home like a buzzard waiting for scraps. I grabbed my phone and snapped a quick picture, forwarding it to Gerald. "Perfect," he texted back. "Harassment. We'll file a restraining order tomorrow." Every move they made, every petty little game they played, it only tightened the noose around their necks. And I was pulling the rope, inch by inch. The next morning, I met Gerald at the courthouse. We filed the papers so fast my head was spinning. Gerald had a hunger in his eyes, the same hunger that burned in my chest. Walking out of that courthouse, I felt something I hadn't felt in weeks: power. Real power. The kind you get when you've seen the worst side of someone and know, without a shadow of a doubt, they can never touch you again. But Emily, she wasn't done yet. Not even close. Late that afternoon, another message arrived. No words this time, just a short video. I hesitated, breath held tight in my lungs, then pressed play. It was them again. In a hotel room. Same smug looks, same twisted display of victory. Emily's voice slithered through the speakers, cold as ice. "Miss us yet, Ethan?" I stopped the video halfway. I wasn't going to give her the satisfaction of watching the whole thing. But I saved it. Oh, I saved it. Gerald would love this. By the time we spoke again, he was practically laughing. "She's digging her own grave," Gerald said, and I could finally hear the certainty in his voice. "By the time I'm done with her, she'll be begging for mercy." That was exactly what I wanted to hear. But still, beneath the fury and the strategy, the hollowness remained. The ghost of what used to be my life, my home, my wife. I could feel it, gnawing at the edges of my mind, whispering the same bitter question over and over. How could she do this? I pushed it aside, hardening myself like stone. I couldn't let weakness slip through now. I was too close to ending this nightmare and walking away with my head held high. That evening, I boxed up the last of her belongings. Jewelry, clothes, trinkets she left scattered like landmines throughout the house. I dropped the boxes at her sister's place. Didn't even bother knocking. Just left them on the porch like discarded trash. As I drove away, something inside me shifted. I felt lighter, free. For the first time in weeks, I cracked the window open and let the cool night air fill my lungs. No more Emily. No more lies. No more twisted games. But I knew better than to let my guard down completely. She wasn't finished. Not yet. And neither was I. The morning after dropping her things off, I woke with a strange calm. Like the storm had passed. But the air was still charged with electricity, crackling just beneath the surface. Gerald called early. His voice was sharp, eager. "Today's the day, Ethan," he said. "Court accepted the restraining order. She's officially banned from setting foot near the house." I let the words settle over me like armor. Good. One more wall between me and her insanity. But Emily, she didn't go quietly. Not her style. By noon, I got the call from my neighbor, Mark. "Hey, Ethan, you might want to come home. She's here." She brought him. My grip tightened on the steering wheel until my knuckles ached. This woman, this lunatic, actually had the audacity to bring Dylan to my house, even after the court order. I tore down the street, tires screeching as I pulled into the driveway. And there they were, standing at the front lawn like they owned the place. Emily, arms crossed, chin high, sneer painted across her lips like she thought she was some kind of queen. And Dylan, pathetic as ever, standing behind her like a scared little boy. "You're breaking the law," I barked the moment I stepped out of the car. I kept my phone steady, camera rolling for proof. "Get off my property." She laughed. "Oh, Ethan." She spat my name like venom. "This was my house long before it was yours. And you know what? Maybe Dylan and I will christen it properly once you're gone." Rage boiled inside me, but I didn't take the bait. I turned the camera toward her, zooming in on her smug, twisted grin. "This is all going to the judge," I said coldly. Her smile faltered, just for a second. Just long enough for me to see the flicker of fear behind her arrogance. Good. Sirens wailed in the distance, growing louder by the second. Mark had already called the cops. Bless him. Emily's expression soured as two patrol cars skidded to a stop in front of the house. They cuffed her on the spot. The moment those cold steel bracelets snapped around her wrists, something inside me broke free. I felt it like a weight lifting off my chest. She was done. Finished. And Dylan? He tried to play tough, but when they slapped cuffs on him too, for trespassing and harassment, he looked ready to cry. I should have felt pity. I didn't. At the station, I handed over the footage, the photos, the texts, the restraining order violation, the whole mountain of evidence. Gerald made sure it hit every desk that mattered. She'll be lucky if she gets out with a fine, he told me later, his eyes glinting with satisfaction. But that's not even the best part. He slid a final folder across the table. Inside were the finalized divorce papers. Clean, precise, ruthless. The house is yours. Full ownership. Her name is wiped off everything. No spousal support. No claim to your assets. Nothing. I stared at the papers, a strange mixture of victory and emptiness washing over me. It's over, I whispered, almost not believing it. It's over, Gerald confirmed. I signed my name with a hand steadier than it had been in weeks. When I walked out of that office, I didn't just feel free. I felt reborn. Like I'd been through the fire and came out forged in steel. I went straight home, stepped inside my house, and stood there in the silence. No echoes of her voice, no scent of her perfume. Just me, the man who had survived the storm. I poured a drink, sat on the back porch, and let the sunset warm my face. And for the first time in what felt like forever, I allowed myself to breathe. Really breathe. I thought about everything I'd been through. The lies, the betrayal, the gut-wrenching pain of knowing the woman I loved was capable of such cruelty. She had tried to destroy me, to humiliate me in the worst way possible. But she failed. If there's one thing I learned, it's this. When someone shows you their true colors, don't try to repaint them. Believe them the first time. And no matter how bad it hurts, never let a venomous heart drag you down into the pit with them. I raised my glass to the sky, a bitter but victorious toast. Here's to starting over, I said out loud, my voice firm. No more Emily. No more Dylan. No more games. Just me, and the future I was finally free to claim.